my Magical Moon Sailor Moon inspired series. So in this part of my channel we talk about tutorials, DIYs, cosplay stuff, makeup stuff, all that jazz. So this is episode 3, and in this episode I'm going to show you how to make your own moon cat bag. So these Sailor Moon bags were created for the 20th anniversary. They're gorgeous, but I couldn't decide what color I wanted, and honestly if I was going to have a bag I'd rather it be pink. So I decided to make my own moon cat bag. So stay tuned and watch a tutorial on how to make your own moon cat bag. So let's get started. And I will say that all my research has been done online. I do not know anyone who has this bag in person, so this has been just research done online. So this purse was designed by Samantha Vega, who teamed up with Sailor Moon to create this Luna and Artemis bag. The metal crescent moon in the front of the bag says Samantha Vega and Sailor Moon. The fabric on the inside also says that, with really cute Artemis and Luna fabric on the inside of the bag. So taking into consideration that I don't have a bag in front of me, I literally did a lot of research between blogs, YouTube videos, comments online writing about this bag, how it's constructed, the pros and cons behind it, and yeah, and the size of the bag. Some girls like petite bags, some girls like bigger bags. This bag has been such a huge hit for Sailor Moon fans that other manufacturers have made knockoffs or variations of this bag later down the line. So I did take notes on the pros and cons between that too. So the other versions of the Luna and Artemis bags, the moon was done in vinyl instead of the metal piece, since it's a knockoff version and the cost of making metal pieces gets kind of expensive. So the purse was done again in the Diana option as well, a backpack. Sometimes the fabric will be exactly like the fabric Samantha Vega had made, or just plain fabric on the inside too. So I literally took all these into consideration. I took notes what fans had said they liked or didn't like with the purse. I also made notes for myself what I would like to see in this purse as well. So sky's the limit here. You can literally change or add whatever you like about this purse. So I made all those notes for myself. So let's get started. So first you'll need some faux leather or vinyl for the outside of your purse. You will need 3/4 yard for the inside fabric of your purse. Mine is cotton. You will need a ruler. You will need some fabric scissors, some paper scissors, an X-Acto knife, a pen and a pencil. You will need E6000 glue. You will need some bobby pins. You will need some pliers. You will need a zipper for your pocket for your purse, some dome studs for the bottom of your purse. You'll need D-rings for the sides of your purse strap. You'll need bobbin and thread that are matching for your sewing machine. You'll need a magnetic clip for the closure for your purse in the front. You'll need a moon of some sort. I got lucky and found this moon necklace piece I can use. You will need some heavy-duty needles for your sewing machine. You'll need some wire cutters, some puffy paint, that's optional, some acrylic paint, that's also optional, a paper towel, and a bowl in case you would like to color your leather like I am going to, and a name tag because I want to be fancy for my purse. You will also need some paper, or you can use newspaper for your patterns. Let's get started. First, take the time to make notes for yourself. Draw the bag, take the time to make notes for yourself, how many cuts you'll need of front and back fabric, inside fabric, how many lip pieces you'll need to close your bag, side pieces, how long you like your strap ideally, at least before you get started, so you don't find yourself running out of fabric or making an extra cut that you didn't need to. This way you won't be wasting anything. So I found this really cool gold zipper at Joann's Fabric, and I just really like it. So I wanted this to work out. One thing I really enjoyed about the original Luna and Artemis bags for the Samantha Vega series is there was all these really cool gold embellishments that complement the gold crescent moon. So So I found this really cool gold zipper, and I made sure all my notions and attachment pieces for my purse was also gold, so it had that, touch of hello to Samantha Vega and thank you for making this amazing bag. So yeah, now I'm taking the time to measure my zipper. I know that sounds crazy, but I kind of started off with the idea thinking that I would really want the zipper to work out, so I need to make sure the bag's at least width-wise big enough to hold the zipper. So, and the zipper I believe was 9 inches. It might have been 8, but I believe it was 9. Yes, I think it's 9. So the purse needs to be at least 2 to 3 inches bigger than the zipper for seam allowance and any extra things. I think I went with 3 inches bigger than the zipper to start off with. So take the time to make notes. This is a time for you to really understand yay or nay on the size of the purse, if this is going to work. Compare it to other purses. See if this lip is not far enough down, if the purse is too small, what kind of things you put in your purse. It really, make or breaks a purse, especially for everyday use. And, I would like to use this purse as often as possible. So I need to consider my planner and my keys and yada yada. And, purses you have in your house, I'm sure you have that feeling too, like, oh my god, this purse is too small. So really took the time to figure this out. So as you can see, my paper that I had wasn't necessarily long enough, so I just taped it together and just kept going and deciding how long and how deep I wanted this bag to be. So actually one of the most alluring thing about Samantha Vega's Luna Artemis bags is the shape of the bag actually echoes the shape of their head, how they're drawn for the show and the manga. So I took this into consideration. And the widest part of my bag I wanted to be 12 inches. So I trimmed the paper to be straight 12 inches all the way from top to bottom of the paper. And then I had to decide how to create this cat-like face, so the top of their head is a little smaller and then curves out to have these kind of cheeks, and then creates this tapered in like chin for the cat shaped face. But that was the toughest part, because I didn't want to taper it too far in at the bottom where the bag would just fall over from being too far tapered in. And then I didn't want the top opening of the purse to be so small that that I couldn't get my hand through and search for my personal items like my keys and the phone. So that was the toughest part. And this part is very key to getting this shape right, in my opinion, because you don't want to make it too small, like I said, for the top part, and you don't want to make it too tapered in the bottom for the purse to fall over. So after I determined my bottom of my bag, I took my paper and created the one shape for the one side of the cheek, I guess, for the cat face. And then I folded in half so it's exactly the same on the other side to create this mirror image. After I did the fold, I took some scissors and I cut on the curved lines so both of them would be the same on both sides. When making patterns, one of the most important things to do is to label your stuff. Because if you take breaks or like to make more later, or to fix the pattern for a future project, you must label them. So take the time right now to write front and back piece. So the front and back of the purse is exactly the same. How many to cut of what kinds of fabric. So I said cut 2 for the faux leather and cut 2 for the inside fabric. So I know how many to cut. And then label what exactly you're doing. It's a mooncat bag, so I'm calling it a mooncat bag. So, taking a fresh piece of paper, we have to determine our lip that's going to go in the front closure of the bag to get the bag open and closed. So this is the part where the crescent moon will be, where it will overlap the front here. I'm going to call it a lip, so that's the easiest to refer it as. So I am copying my actual base pattern that I had made. So it's exactly the same. They'll match up. Won't be any problems in the future. I set a standard for myself. When I do patterns, I do 3/8 seam allowance. So when I'm on the machine, I just follow the line for 3/8 and sew all the way down. Try to make this rule for yourself too. If you're new to sewing, I highly suggest giving yourself an inch seam allowance when you're working, because you don't want any oopsie daisies or whatever it may be. So I'm doing the same method here where I copied like I said, I copied the base pattern and then I created the one curved side. And I'm doing only the one curved side because if I draw the whole curve, I might get weird hand movement for the other side and it won't be exactly the same. So I cut it out and I'm going to fold it in half and then again trim it and curve on the curve there. So as you can tell with my hand gesture just a second ago, like I said, my lip wasn't quite long enough. So like I said, this is a time for you to decide. This is like a paper doll version of your bag. So I decided it wasn't quite long enough because I was looking at the original design and I liked that the lip dropped a little bit more. So I took that pattern I just did and redrew it and just added in 2 inches, 2 inches to the bottom lip part and extended it. So there you go. I did temporarily draw my little moon so I have a reference and can get more excited about the finished product coming around here. And again, I labeled it Moon Cat Bag Lip, cut one of the outer fabric and cut one of the inner fabric. So now let's get started in the bottom piece. So this is going to be a rectangle base for the bag to sit on. So this is the part where the bag can sit up straight up. And yeah, so I'm copying and rechecking my original base pattern, how long it was. Mine was 8 1/4 of an inch bottom of my bag. Copied that measurement onto my new little piece of paper here. And then this is the part where you decide how deep your bag's gonna be, like how much stuff you can actually fit in here, including seam allowance. So again, I copied that and I just took a scrap piece of paper and just stared at it for a while, decided if this is how deep I want my bag to be. Kind of played around with my phone for a while and see if this would fit in there, like if it was laid down flat, if I can get my planner in there, and the idea of seam allowance being subtracted from this little piece of paper, and I really liked it. So yeah, there we go. Alright, don't forget, label, Moon Cat Bag, bottom, cut one of inside fabric, cut one of outside fabric, and if you're wondering my final measurements, it was 8 1/4 to match up with my base pattern, top and bottom, and the sides, which is the depth of my bag, ended up being 4.5 inches, including seam allowance. Because I don't want to waste any more paper, I'm using some scrap fabric to figure out what depth and height I would like my little kitty ears to be for the top of the bag. This makes the bag, so yeah, I really wanted these to look really cute. This was a little hard though, because looking at the references between the original Samantha Vega version of the bag and the knockoff variation versions of the bag, the cat ears shape has changed. So that was hard to determine. I just did what I thought looked nice. I've seen it more done, this is more of a curved rectangle, and I've seen some of the other versions kind of look like a teardrop shape, like almost did the full teardrop back there for you to sew attach to. But this is what I did, so it's really up to you. Experiment. Again, this is the paper doll version of your future bag, so decide what you think might look good. Oh, and don't forget to label a Moon Cat Bag, cat ear pattern, cut 4 of the outside fabric. So we're not doing any inside fabric. This is 4 pieces of that vinyl faux leather fabric you have got for your bag. So the next pattern we'll be doing is the side piece for the left and right side of your cheeky parts of your cat face kind of bag you got. So using that measurement of the depth of the bag we decided on, which was 4.5, we need to copy that measurement to match up to it. So, oh boy, this part was also a little difficult because a lot of bag reviewers had said if you make the side piece too curved, like some of the knockoffs, the bag falls over. It has nothing structurally to stay up, it's too curvy, and schlumps over, so this part was a little tough. But that's okay. I mean, take your time, and this is for you. And I love my bag, so I'm okay with what I came up with. So I'm taking the time now to measure the side of my original base pattern here, and I am using a straight ruler, but it is better to use your measuring tape, you know, the ones that's flimsy for pattern making, I mean, when you're measuring people, and I could not find it, so yes, that was boo-boo on me. But I did measure it multiple times and triple double check. Just use your ruler to help you anchor around the curved part of the base. Mine was 11.5, so I am using those measurements to consider this shape of my silhouette of the side of the bag. So I admit this side piece gave me a hard time at first. I'm like, I'm overthinking this way too much. Let's do simple. Start off simple. Top and bottom 4.5 to match up with the bottom base, and the sides at 11.5 to get the depth of the side cheek for the base pattern. Great. Fold it in half, and I was like, okay, looks like the top of the bag is tapered a little bit. So I came in at the top of the measurement of my little pattern here about a 1/2 inch and tapered it out so it flowed back to the full 4.5 for the bottom. So it only has a slight curve on the top. I noticed some of the knockoff bags are a little bit more of a teardrop shape on the side, which I think might have been the problem why the bags were falling over. They weren't structured enough, they were too curvy. So we are sewing on a curve here, so making this as simple as possible, not rounded out too much, would be a better option. So that's what I decided to go with. So it was only a 1/2 inch shaved off both sides of the 4.5 top measurement of the bag side pattern. And don't forget to, again, write down all your information, how you measurements, how many cuts. For this one, it is Mooncat bag side pattern for 2 cuts of the outside fabric and 2 cuts of the inside fabric. Okay, take one final look at your paper version of your bag. Decide if you love it, hate it, change it. This is the time to figure out, you know, this is what you want to do. So I did not make a strap pattern for my purse. I just cut it out of the fabric. It was a big long rectangle, didn't seem that difficult. So I decided to go straight to the fabric. And this is a vinyl fabric, faux leather. I'm pretty sure it's vinyl, that I had gotten from my friend. It was a hand-me-down. I did not go to the store for this. And my bag, the reason why I even went through this trouble to make my own Luna bag or Mooncat bag is because I really couldn't decide if I wanted a black bag or a white bag or, you know, a lavender bag. So and I really like, Luna's my favorite cat out of all 3 of them, but I'm not a big black bag person. Like, I just feel like I don't know, like all my stuff falls into a black hole. So I really wanted this bag to be me, and I love Sailor Moonas. Some of you know I am a huge fan. So I really wanted this bag to be me in a bag, if that makes any sense at all. So I really wanted, if I was in the Sailor Moon Mooncat universe, I would be a pink Mooncat. So pink faux fur, or faux leather, sorry, or vinyl is hard to find actually, especially in the pastel pink, which is my favorite, my hair color as well. So that was not going to work out. So I chose this kind of off-white vinyl to work with, and I am doing the patterns now. I am drawing them with a pen on the back side of the fabric, the wrong side of the fabric, and you'll find with vinyl and faux leather that the inside of the fabric kind of feels like burlappy and it's different material, and that's okay. This is easier for us to draw on. There is different types of vinyl and faux leather, different textures, different weights. This is up for you to decide, because when I was making this pattern, I found out, or when I was making this bag, I found out that this particular vinyl that I got is very heavy and hard to sew on. And I prepared myself by getting a heavier thread. I used upholstery thread, and I got heavy duty needles for my sewing machine. But even then, it was hard to work with. And you'll find out later in the video that that was a task. So back to what we're doing here. So I am making the tabs for my purse strap connector with my D-rings. So the width was 2.5 by 4. I wanted to make sure I had more than enough to scoot down in my purse or scoot up. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do yet. I'd rather have more than enough fabric than not enough fabric. Be sure to make notes on the pieces too, like how many you have. Sometimes when you put things aside and pick up the project again, you're like, oh my god, I swear I had 2 of these. So I wrote like number 1, number 2 on them so I know how many, and they're all there. And one thing I found that was difficult about this faux leather was it was given to me folded it up, and it was kind of a pain to try to get the wrinkles out. So that was hard. So if you find yourself purchasing this fabric, try to not wrinkle it. Maybe put it over a hanger and hang it in your closet or somewhere so it doesn't get wrinkled. I'm not really sure how to avoid doing this, but well, I don't know. I'm not an expert, so doing the best I can, and I am double checking my measurements with the tabs, make sure they feed through my D-ring connectors for my purse. Make sure again to label everything. I forgot to mention before, for the kitty ears, make sure I wrote a star on the top of the ear so I know where the top of the ear was for every single cut. Yeah, so again, make sure you have everything, double check. If you're afraid that something wasn't cut out right or it doesn't look right or whatever it may be, make doubles. It's not always a bad thing. And I did use a whole yard of this because I too, you know, had to work around some things like the folds, and I didn't like certain folds in the cuts, so I used more fabric than anticipated. I imagine that if you wanted to be completely perfected at this, after you make your patterns, go to the store and literally lay out your patterns on the fabric and decide how much fabric you need. But this, again, I have never done this before. This is so unique to me and different. So this was a fun project, and anything that I learned in this project is, you know, information for you to learn how to do it differently, do's and don'ts. So this is an experiment for both of us. So now I'm taking the time to figure out my strap, and I did do it on the fold here. I ran out of fabric, but that's okay. It's on the strap. It's gonna be, you know, really sewn down pretty darn good. So I'm making my strap 3 inches wide, and I am using the longest length of my fabric to just cut out the entire strip and go from there. You know, I'm a visual aid person, so I wanted to see it on me, decide how long I wanted it. One thing I'm not a huge fan of is when a purse strap is long enough to like make your purse like hit your butt when you're walking, and I don't really like that. I like it on my side, not on my butt. Yeah, so I'm just making the strap pieces here. You can cut out a few and make the straps extended if you would like. If you want to be a little more creative and not make it so it's hodgepodge together by doing multiple strips sewn together, those little tabby things, you can extend them a little bit longer and add a few inches, and then attach your strap to that, so you can be a little cheeky about making the strap even longer. Final length of the strap was about 40 inches. So take all of your original pattern pieces with your vinyl cuts and make sure you have everything. So I am getting ready to color my vinyl, and I have never done this before. This is completely an experiment, and I will give you a hint, it does work. But I did research online of how to color my vinyl or faux leather, and I wanted something inexpensive and obviously pink, which was a task. So I decided to try this method, and apparently it's watered down acrylic with water, and I bought this little hand towel from the dollar store. It's really long, so I decided to trim it, but I picked out this really pretty pink acrylic and a little bowl of water and nice to mix with. So now you're going to take the acrylic paint of your choice. I got this really pretty pastel pink from Michael's for like a couple bucks. And this is the part of the little confusing instructions I found online and information about it. Again, never done this before, so this is all new to me. So you want the perfect ratio between water and paint. So at first it was a little watery, so I needed to add more paint to make sure that this consistency was correct. So it's very much like paper mache when you do the glue and water mixture. If I was being completely honest with percentage here, I probably had like 70% paint and then the rest water. So it's just enough to dilute it so it's thick but not too runny. So yeah, this is a little tough at first. So when you get your cloth, you want to get a little bit on the rag here and create a circular motion. While you're doing the circular motion, this is to incorporate the paint into, for lack of a better word, the pores of the fabric to take the color. So first I did a streaking motion and then I buffed it into the fabric. And take your time doing this and do every single piece. Let it dry. Mine took about maybe 20 minutes or less to dry for each piece. So just take your time doing this. So I also learned another little trick where I did a couple droplets of the acrylic directly onto the acrylic, onto the vinyl, and used the watery paint mixture on the rag to help buff it out even more. So this helped actually get the paint going, especially in really stubborn spots for me. The camera doesn't pick this up as much, but my particular vinyl has a little bit of a texture to it, so it was being very picky. So getting a little droplets of that acrylic paint onto the piece first and then massaging it with the watery paint mixture helped it get a little going. So after giving it time to dry, I went back in with another coat. For my purse, my vinyl pieces, I ended up using about 3 coats because I wanted it to really be on there, and paint does dry a little bit lighter, so I wanted to make sure that the color was really saturated into the fabric. Again, since my vinyl was a little textured, it was tough, but I just took time, and this is the most important part, the part that I look at, the outside of the purse. So yeah, and just keep going. So now it's time to cut out their pattern pieces on your inside fabric. Make sure you pay attention to your notes, how many to cut, yada yada. And I apologize, the sun's literally going down on me right now, so I'm trying like so hard to get this done before it gets crazy dark. So yes, taking the time to copy my patterns onto the fabric. Yes, this is different fabric than the beginning of the video where I showed you what the inside fabric was going to be. I was just going to do a plain pink fabric, but I designed this Lotus Moon, Sailor Moon inspired fabric for my business. I make skirts out of them. They're pocketed Lolita inspired skirts that I make this fabric out of, and I just love this fabric. It's my design that I had printed on fabric, and I make them into clothes. They're also little handbags, and I just love it. So I used that pattern for the inside fabric of my bag. I strategically placed the pretty moon lotus to be in specific spots of the bag, and I got all my patterns together, and yeah. So one thing I did not mention in this part of the video, and I don't know why I didn't film this, but I wanted pockets in my bag. So I went back and looked at my original base pattern and made these pockets out of the inside fabric as well. So let's get things together to start sewing. So now I'm taking out the time again to double, triple check between the original pattern, the outside fabric, the inside fabric, making sure I got all the cuts. Everything's dried now, so now I get to do the funnest, hardest part about this video is starting to sew. So first I'm going to do the easiest part I'm familiar with, which is working with fabric. Again, this is my fabric, and it's a cotton-based fabric, so it's simple and not complex and easy to clean and yada yada. So yeah, I'm taking my pearl sewing needles to start getting things together. So I did stare at the original fabric for the bags, and I believe that the fabric that Samantha Vega used was more of a upholstery canvas fabric, so I wanted to make sure that mine was really sturdy too, since it was a cotton fabric, and I like my fabric so much that I decided to go back to that original pink fabric and cut out all the same cuts of that fabric as well to double line my fabric. So it's really sturdy, and everything's great, and that was also a cotton fabric as well, so there's double cuts of each inside fabric because I decided to go this route. And this is something you can do if you happen to fall in love with a pattern fabric that isn't necessarily like sturdy enough for a lining. You can always reinforce it with something else. You can do this fusible fabric that you can iron directly onto your fabric, so it's super strong, or you can do the fabric like I did to make another cut and, you know, use that as a backing for that piece as well. So now I'm pinning together the bottom of the bag and the sides of the bag. So now I'm getting my sewing machine ready with the bobbin and the matching thread. Yes, I use a pink fabric, obviously, so I'm using a pink thread. I'm making sure I'm using a fresh needle so everything has a good start here, and making a straight stitch down the pin sides. I have done the connecting between the base and the side pieces. Now I'm going to use a zigzag stitch, the widest one, which is a 4, on the edge of the fabric. This is my version of doing serging, so if you don't have a serging machine, doing the zigzag on the edge will help reinforce that fabric. Next, we're going to do a top stitch, and we're going to fold those zigzag edges towards the inside where the base is and top stitch it down. This is just to reinforce it so that extra edge won't be flying around on the inside of the bag where you can't reach it anymore after being sewn together, so that's going to be tough. So make sure you do that top stitch, and now I'm going to grab one of the base, the front or the back pattern, and match up to the bottom. We want to make sure that that 8 1/4 edge matches up with the bottom part of the bag. Just take your time doing this. This is probably one of the most strategic, annoying pinning parts, but I'm doing a directional pin, that's what I call it, which is up and down versus horizontal like on the edge of the fabric. This allows me so I can sew right over the needles when I'm putting it through a machine. So just take your time on the curve here as well. Try to pin about like 1/2 inch away from the next pin over. Some people use less pins, some people use more pins, but when it's something like this, you don't want the fabric to slip and have to seam rip it, so it's just better to take your time on this part. I kind of mentioned this before about that zipper and forgetting to make the pattern pieces for the zipper. Oh me. Because there's no instructions on how to do this, you kind of forget what steps go where, what would be easier, but you know, watching it from my perspective, you get to take your own personal notes, what will be better and when to do it versus when I'm doing it. I should have done the zipper before I attached this, we'll pin this lip together, the sides together. I just really wanted to sew it. I guess I forgot about the zipper. So now I am using some scrap fabric from that plain fabric and the scraps from my design fabric to reinforce it and decide where I want this zipper to go, how far I want it to go down the bag. I don't really like when zippers are too close to the top or too close to the bottom, so I'm trying to decide where I want this. So after you've decided how long the zipper pocket needs to be and how wide it needs to be and how deep it needs to be, you're going to sew the sides and the bottom on the wrong side of the fabric and turn it right side out. I happened to do mine on the fold, so I didn't have to sew the bottom. I only need to sew the sides. Leave that top part open like a little pillowcase because we're going to use that top edge to sew to the zipper. So after you have done that, take the raw edge of the like pillowcase little pocket you have designed and match it up to the wrong side of the zipper. And this, how you pin this, whether the zipper pulley is on the left or right, determines how you'll pull it when it's on the bag. So decide if you like to pull from left to right or right to left. Mine, I like to do left or right because that's just easier for me. I'm right-handed. I don't know if it's different for left-handed people, but you're going to pin that to the zipper and do a straight stitch in your sewing machine. This is the opportunity for you to change out your foot for a zipper foot. Mine's pretty simple. So you just press a little button, it drops your original foot, and you change it out for a zipper foot. There's instructional videos to this online. I'm not going to go into this because zippers are one of the most annoying things to educate people on, to do, to sew, to even if you already know how to do it. Zippers are not so fun in my opinion. So after you have done the stitch to reinforce the fabric to the zipper, you're going to turn it out so you see the top zipper against the fabric and do a straight stitch across. So this is vaguely what it's going to look like after you line it up against the back. So after you have determined how far down you want your zipper pouch to go, you're going to take your zipper and take those little tabs by the zipper pulley and the end and fold them in and pin your zipper to your bag. So I didn't want this much of the golden lip to show, I only wanted a little bit, so I did flip it around and pin and sew it this way first. So this is going to be a straight stitch into your machine again with your zipper foot. Just take time sewing this. This is a metal zipper. You don't want to get it stuck in your machine. That will not be very fun. But just take your time sewing really slow and do the straight stitch from the top to the bottom part of the zipper. After you have sewn that zipper down, you're going to flip it over, and if you can do a top stitch on the top, do. If you don't feel comfortable doing it and you're afraid you're going to get it caught in your sewing machine, then don't. That's okay because we're going to sew the pocket part, so that weight will keep the zipper from getting all crazy. But top stitch, like I said, does help reinforce it, does help the stability of it, but if you can't do it, just skip that step. And then now I'm pinning down the pocket in a directional pin just so I can sew over it really easy. So I'm going to sew on that U shape and do a straight stitch. Now is the opportunity to check out the zipper. Make sure the zipper zips comfortably back and forth. Make sure it's not caught. If it isn't correct, you probably should be double checking the zipper before you had done the pocket. But just to double check, make sure everything zips okay. If not, then seam rest it and do it again. So this is my own custom zippers I have for my business, and I want to add it to this bag because in the Samantha Vega version, they have her little insignia above the zipper, or on the zipper, I can't remember which one. But I really wanted to do that too, so I have these, kind of just worked out this way, that I have these custom labels that I had made for my business. It's on white fabric with a gold lame, so it goes with my theme here. So I'm just tacking down my little seam label, and I'm going to do I'm going to do a zigzag stitch all the way around just in case. I would say straight stitch, but if this ever had come off, I wouldn't be able to fix it inside the bag. So I'm going to do a zigzag stitch all the way around my little label here. Well, I have to admit, guys, after I saw this label sewn in, it makes it feel very official, and I got super excited. So yeah, I'm going to go back to that base on the other side that I already started pinning those side seams to, and I was just like, I don't want to unseam it. So I'm going to do the other pocket that I wanted to do. This little pocket will be for my cell phone and lipstick, so they're going to be really small. I think my measurement was 7 inches by 4.5. Yeah, 7 by 4.5. There we go. So I did double line this. I'm gonna do a little U-shaped straight stitch, turn it inside out and leave the top open because I'm going to fold in the top and then do another top stitch on there to seal this little guy in. After you have pin and straight stitch sewed straight across the top lip there. You're going to figure out the placement of your little cell phone slash lipstick pocket. So I didn't want to do it too close to the top of the purse because I don't want my cell phone falling out or my lipstick falling out. So if it happens to slip out of this little pocket here, it'll just fall to the bottom of the bag, no problem. So now I am pinning the pocket down to where I think it should go on the base, and we're going to sew into the U straight stitch, top stitch on top of this little pocket. I forgot to film that part. Sorry. So I did do the U top stitch for the pocket, and I added an extra line down the one side, not in the middle, but a little off to the right there. So my pocket will be just snug enough for my lipstick and perfect for my cell phone. I did already sew all the way around that U with a straight stitch and then a zigzag stitch to reinforce it. Now we're going to take the other side of the base, which is the one we did the zipper pocket and the little label, and we're going to match it up and pin it and do the same thing all the way around. We're going to do a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. Oh my god, guys, another moment where this felt so real and coming to life. And here's my bag liner, and it looks so nice. I know that it doesn't seem like very much, but it's pretty cool. It's really, really awesome. So now we're going to take the top lip inside fabric, and we're going to attach this metal closure. Usually sell these in the Notions area in the fabric store. I think you can see them at Michael's. But, you know, they are pretty standard for a lot of purses, and I really wanted the piece to be right where that little heart almost shape was in the bottom of the lotus piece there. So yeah, so this is cotton, so it's not as sturdy as my vinyl. So I'm going to use a piece of cardboard. You can use felt, you can use whatever scrap fabric to reinforce it on the other side. I just cut the two slits, feeded the little prong teeth through as well as my piece of cardboard, and use my pliers to fold them down. So when you cut the slits for this, make sure you have something behind it like a cutting board or a healing mat. Make sure you don't cut into anything through the fabric. But this is called the male side of the magnetic piece. So that's for the top lip liner, and then when it flips over, it's going to hit the bag. I did this too early, in my opinion. I think that this should have been done later, but I got a little ahead of myself and used the inside lip where the closure was to find the other side of where the magnetic hits the front of the bag. So I attached that. It does come with a separate piece, and I just did it with no reinforcement at all, because it is vinyl and it's really sturdy. Tested to see if the magnetic worked great, but the reason why I said wait on this is because the distance between the back flap and the front flap might change depending on your seam allowance and whatnot, and I feel like I should have waited a little bit more. So yeah, sorry about that. Now I'm using the outside fabric with the inside fabric with the lining for the lip and sew it together using that, again, that upholstery heavy duty needle, and I am using bobby pins to keep the vinyl and the fabric together while I'm sewing and taking it out as I'm going. The reason why I'm doing this instead of needles is it won't puncture the vinyl here. So just taking my time to go around that curve right there. So after you've trimmed the flyaway little tails of your threads, you're going to do this thing that I call hula skirting. So it's when you take a pair of scissors and cut things like a fringe or a hula skirt, like when you're a little kid, around a curved edge. So when you turn this inside out, the fabric has an easier time making that curve look nice versus looking very square. So at first I did like, maybe like a fourth of an inch in between each cut, but I ended up doing way more than that, like almost so it looks super fringy like after, because I ran into the problem of, I had mentioned before, that this vinyl is very, very thick. So when it got turned inside out, that it billowed and turned funny and wasn't necessarily as round as I wanted it to be. So this was really tricky. I find that if you had done this first, if I had done this first, in a lighter sort of vinyl, that it wouldn't give you as much trouble with this. As you can see, like, that's really not cute. So, and I originally didn't want to do a top stitch on this. I really wanted it to just look pillowy and cute in the front, but it was not laying that way. And it could be because this vinyl isn't worn in, it's really new, and again, very thick. So there's a million reasons why this could have been done differently, or why it happened the way it did. Again, I'm not an expert, so this is what it looks like so far. I am a little frustrated with it, so I'm gonna lay it aside for the moment until I figure out what I would like to do. So now we're gonna do the same thing as we did for the inside fabric. Same whole thing where you pin the bottom base fabric to the sides. Again, we are using bobby pins and not needles, so they don't puncture the fabric. After you have done your straight stitch, you're gonna pin down those raw lip edges and do the top stitch on the wrong side of the fabric. You could do a zigzag stitch and then do a top stitch, but I figured the 2 straight stitches were more than enough for this particular kinds of fabric. This is super sturdy. So now we're going to take our dome studs. Now I found a hard time finding these guys because everyone does the spiky studs and not the dome studs, especially where I live. I don't know why, I just could not find them, especially for just a few of them. I only needed a few, not like 50. So I did see some people on Etsy that do sell these in small variations. If you're willing to wait for the time to get to your house, then go ahead and do that. But I got impatient and I was just like, you know what, never mind, I'm just gonna buy this multi-pack of a million from Joann's and just do it this way. So I did find these at Joann's Fabric in the, I believe it was in the section where they have like the fabric dye and the like replacement bag straps and whatnot. So I got those, and I did want this brassy gold color because it goes with my theme here. And now I'm just planning out where I would like these studs to go. Why are these studs in the bottom of the bag? Well, these studs are going to help you stabilize your bag when you lay it down on a surface. For an example, when you put it on a counter or on the ground, which I hope you don't put this purse on the ground. I would never put my baby in the ground. No, put the baby in the corner. But these help keep the bag from getting dirty too, so it kind of rises it away from the bag. And one of the complaints from the knockoff bags was that the fabric was so billowy and not quality that and the side pattern had made them kind of not stable in the first place, that the middle and between all the studs just kind of dragged on the ground anyways. So if you would like this bottom piece to be more sturdy than you already did, and you are picking a lighter vinyl, reinforce it with some duck cloth on the vinyl side, or get the fusible fabric to reinforce it that way, so the bottom is just really sturdy. I felt that my fabric was fine, so I just did it with just the vinyl and then the inside fabric. I didn't have any problems. After this bag was finished, it hasn't had any problems, so that's great. So when I did the studs, I did them an inch away from the seam and an inch away from the edge. The reason why is I don't want them to get too close to the raw edge there, because I still haven't done the seam allowance. I don't know how much the machine will take, get close to that without giving the machine any problems. I do have a basic machine. It's not a heavy industrial machine. It's, my machine's not going to tell this fabric who's boss. It'll probably cower down before the fabric does, and these studs. So an inch away from both the seam and the raw edge, and taking my pliers again to firmly secure each stud, and do it for all 4. After getting all these studs in there, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, this looks legit. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy with it. The stitches look great. And again, yeah, these studs gave me a really hard time to find them. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna really utilize these studs. So I'm gonna use them to reinforce the zipper, both sides, the pulley side, and then the end of it, to kind of fashion it up a little bit. I just think that looks really cool, so I did that. No particular reason other than the fact I like the way it looked, and it felt like I wanted more studs on it, so there you go. So another kind of annoying part of this bag, I'm so sorry. Again, because my fabric was very thick, I knew this part was gonna be teeth gritting, but you use your bobby pins again to reinforce the base fabric, the front and back, to the panel. So the bottom panel, I'm matching it up, making sure it looks good. Be very careful with this when you sew this into the machine, because vinyl is not forgiving. If you puncture it and sew it wrong, or you have to seam rip it, those dots from the needle is gonna stay. It's not going anywhere. So that's hard, and I'm sorry. If vinyl was more forgiving, I wish I could tell you, but it's not. So just take your time with this. It did work. My machine did take it just fine with the heavy duty needle and whatnot. But yes, I went all the way around in a U shape, did a straight stitch. After you've done the straight stitch, you're going to take those four corners and reinforce that edge with a zigzag stitch about 1 inch. Only 1 inch, because the rest of that raw edge all the way around, we're going to do that hula skirt method again. And again, I had a problem with the billowing and the raw edges, creating the bag not wanting to stay up the way it should. So I'm going to do the hula skirt method and take a glue gun and add that glue about 1 inch at a time between the side seam and the base fabric, just a little bit, not enough to smoosh out and hurt your fingers, but about 1 inch at a time. I'm doing this, and this is very tedious. Go all the way around, and this is going to help the structure of the bag stay. I'm not sure what tricks and things they teach you when they teach you how to make bags, and like the Coach manufacturer building and whatnot, and I don't know what method they use with that. Their machines are built for those sorts of things, and this is just a basic machine that I'm using. So there might be another trick on how to do this, but I did a little research again on what's the best way to work with vinyl when it comes to stuff like this, and a lot of people do use the hot glue gun to fold over these to help the structure stay in a certain direction. So after doing this method to both sides, I did it to both the inside and the outside fabric lip. So I did it twice for both sides, and it turned out really, really good. It helped the structure a lot, so I decided to test this method with the lip. So since I was so frustrated before, I thought this was a sure way to making it happen. It did help a little bit, but I don't think it was successful as much as the vinyl part of the bag. So again, I just went over the entire U-shaped edge of the lip here. I did it for both layers. So I did it once with the fabric all the way around, then I went again with the vinyl part of the bag with the hot glue gun. So after you have glued down the raw edges of the lip towards the inside of the lining fabric for the lip, you're going to set that aside with the hot glue gun, no more. Okay, now we're going to turn our base fabric with the side seams all sewed together, right side out, because we were sewing on the wrong side of the fabric. And take your time doing this. You don't want to pull a stitch, you don't want to be mean to it. Just be very gentle while you're doing this. Take your time to push out the edges, and yeah, it looks really nice. I think the hot glue gun definitely helped keep the structure together. It's starting to look pretty cool. When I say starting, I said like 100 times already, so that's okay. I'm really liking the way it's turning out so far. So now we're going to take that lining fabric pattern we had put together and match them up. So I designed the zipper pocket with my label to be on the far side of the back side of the bag, and then the cell phone and lipstick pocket to go towards the front of the bag, or the front bag. Yeah, so I'm just matching up the linings, making sure everything looks great. pushing out with my fingers that little rolled curved edge for the side seams, making sure they match up as best as possible. So let's put this aside for the moment and work on our little kitty ears. So we had cut out 4 of those vinyl kitty ears, and you marked with a star on the top so you know where the top of the kitty ears are, and we're going to face the right sides together. In most sewing, you would have just turned them the wrong sides together and sewn wrong side out and then turn them right side out. But with vinyl, we do not have this luxury, so we're going to sew on the top edge here. I did a straight stitch and then a zigzag stitch. The zigzag stitch I'm not really in love with. If I had to redo this again, I probably would have done just a straight stitch and get close to the edge there, and probably use some form of glue to adhere the raw edges together, but honestly I didn't think about that till way later. So those are my kitty ears, and I'm putting them aside right now, and now I'm going to focus on doing a top stitch for the inside and the outside fabric to now be sewn together. So I'm sewing them about a 1/4 of an inch down, the raw sides into where you're not going to see them, and then so all the pretty edging will be there. I am using the bobby pins again to keep them together while I pin them together with these bobby pins, so I can sew them and do a straight stitch. In other bags, I probably would have had the opportunity right here to use the lip to sandwich in between the lining and the outside fabric for the back part of the bag, but this fabric again is so thick that my machine had a hard time even doing vinyl on top of vinyl. It's only 2 layers, so the thought of it doing 4 layers, I don't even think it would go through the machine. So I did not do that to this, and this is the part I got a little creative for how to attach the lip later, but just take your time here, and this is another crucial part to make sure the lining has matched up, the lines look great together, and just again, just take your time. In the machine, this is also going to be quite difficult, but again, just take your time, use your upholstery needle or heavy duty needle to go slowly through the machine over that little circle opening we had just did. And then I had the pause thought. I'm like, darn it, if I can't go over it with the lip, there's no way I can fit these little toggle pulleys I had designed for my B-rings in between and sandwich them in between that guy either. So I decided to leave the side seam completely open, so from the one side seam edge to the other side seam edge on both sides open, and sew just the front and back like as one like parallel seam, one there, and then leave the sides open. The reason why is after oh my gosh, I just did that. I sewed my little toggles down, I folded them in half and did a top stitch. I did 3 of them so it looks really artsy, fed them through the D-ring, and then like I said, I was gonna sew them through, but I know my machine would just not let it happen. So I left the side seams open, and later I decided to do this a completely different way. But just put these aside right now and just do those 2 top stitch straight seams first. So as you can see, I left the side seams open and just did the front and back seams for the top stitch to attach the lining to the outside fabric. So now I'm taking the time with my little kitty ears, because I decided, the kitty ears originally for me were going to be inside the seam, but they're going to be exposed now. The raw edge is going to be exposed. So I am changing the design a little bit just by rounding out the little kitty ears just a little, and doing again another top stitch, straight stitch, and then zigzag stitch to finish those guys up. Moment of, oh my god, what the heck am I gonna do? I want to get these in there, and they need to be in there. How am I gonna get them in there? So I decided to be very creative and use my E6000 glue and put glue on both sides of the toggle strips and sandwich them into the side seams. I'm going to push it a little bit farther down so the glue is not close to the top edge so I can hand sew it later. So in the meantime, I'm preparing my needle. My hand sewing needle, this is kind of a longer one, so I use a quilting needle so I can get into the vinyl a little easier and be able to pull out the other side. I have strong hands, I guess, but I imagine that this is going to be hard for some people, so I would suggest using a little thimble to help you get the needle through when you're hand sewing a little bit. So I'm just preparing the needle right now and feeding the thread once through and then doing a knot on the end. So a helpful thing I learned recently is E6000 glue now has mini tubes. I used to get the big tube. I'm like, well, if I'm going to get a tube of E6000 glue, might as well get a big tube and give a bang for my buck. But I found out, like, when you're 2/3 into the tubing, like, the glue dries out or it cracks and it starts spooging out everywhere, and you're like, great, just wasted all that glue and it hardens, and then you can't use the rest of the glue in the tube. So they sell these little packs of E6000 glue, and I found out this is way better. So I got a little impatient here, and again, I wanted to make sure I got this project done. You wouldn't believe actually how much I wanted to do a great job for you guys, so I was stressing myself out. So what I did was I did a line of the E6000 glue closer to the bottom edge of the toggle loopy, and then I did a hot glue line above it so I could keep it in place. The hot glue will dry fast enough to keep it in place, and the E6000 glue will make sure it's permanent. The reason why is I wanted to move on to the next step and not have to wait until the glue fully dries. E6000 glue usually takes a full 24 hours to really dry properly, in my opinion. If you do it any sooner, sometimes it will break and harden and not work out. So now I'm just holding it long enough for the hot glue to activate and keep it in place, so I can do the other side. This is why I did the trick of hot glue and then E6000 glue. So yeah, so I'm just getting the other side ready and doing the same thing to the other side. To give this toggle strip that I put in there with E6000 glue and the hot glue a really firm opportunity to stay there, I decided to use these clothespins to keep them in place while I work on the next part. That way I had a little time to dry with the hot glue and the E6000 glue, and I can move on to the next part. So again, I just did the top stitch for those little ears, and now I am trying to deal with this lip. And again, this part has been really annoying to me because I just didn't want to do that top stitch for the curve, but I did, as you can see. I folded down one side of the inside lining and left the raw edge open for attaching it to the bag, the vinyl part to the bag. So again, trying to figure out the best recipe to finish up this lip and attach to the bag, I put it aside so I can work back onto the side parts of the purse. So I removed those little clothespins, and now I'm going to hand sew the opening that didn't get a chance to be sewn in the machine, and make sure the toggles are sturdy around it too. So using what people refer to as a whip stitch. I don't refer to it all the time that way, and I'm sure there's other names for it too, but I'm just doing a very fine whip stitch on the top part, like I said, where it's not attached and didn't get a chance to go through the machine. Trying to do it as small as possible because it is on the outside of the bag and people will see it, I will see it, I don't want to be upset with it. So yeah, just doing that, and before I close up the hole, I'm giving it a little more help of E6000 glue so my bag doesn't like jump on the ground someday from not being secure in here. So yeah, just closing up the open edge here, and yeah, I'm gonna do it to both sides. probably should get started on this strap now. So after I put that stuff aside for the moment, and now I'm gonna focus on the bag strap. So something different I did versus the Samantha Vega and the knockoff versions of the bag. The bag has a strap that's partially made of chain and then strap. I'm actually not a huge fan of chain strap bags for myself. They kind of just dig in the stuff, they lose color. Most of the time they're not even real metal, so they don't look right over time, they get all funky. So for the strap, I'm going to fold it over once and then fold it over again and create about an inch strap, maybe an inch, yeah, an inch and a half. I said an inch, but yeah, let's do an inch. So you're going to sew 3 stitches all the way down parallel to each other just to reinforce the strap. Yes, my raw edge is showing on the inside because I could not tuck it under too, you know, like I wanted to, actually, because my sewing machine cannot take the weight again. So that's alright with me because it's on the inside. No one's going to know except me. So I'm going back to the bag here, and I did notice that it is billowing out a little bit on the sides. I'm like, why is it doing that? So I went back to the original pictures again of the bag, and it turns out it does have a little dart in the side right there to kind of taper in a little bit. Other than this shape, the pattern, it is also pinched in on the sides there. So I'm just taking in the sides right here and pinching it towards the side seam on both sides and hand sewing it. So it almost looks like a little S, and I'm top sewing it. And later, after you're done top stitching it, after you're done with the bag, completely done with the bag, if you're afraid of the stitching coming undone right here, I would just use a little goes a long way with E6000 glue, which dries clear to reinforce those stitches and won't give any problems in the future. The dreaded lip. Now it's time to attach that lip. Yeah, like I said before, I could not sew it the way I wanted to inside the sandwiching right there, so I had to top stitch it, which I really didn't want to, but I just marked it with some bobby pins and put it in the machine. The machine would not let me feed it through at that angle, like completely all the way through, so I stitched both the left and right side starting in the lip, and then the in between I did hand sewed. I did another whip stitch, and if you're afraid of it not holding very well over time, I would reinforce it again, probably on the inside lip against the outside material just so no one can see it, with the E6000 glue just to be sure. So E6000 glue is a magical thing. It works on everything. But yeah, just take your time for this. This part was hard for me to do. And again, since my kitty ears cannot be sewn to the flap like I wanted to, I wanted to be aesthetically pleasing by doing those little box seam around the bottom part of the ear. So after you've done a little box seam, you're going to line it up against your lip and decide where you want to put it. Because you're going to use E6000 glue to attach the ears. Again, I wish it could be sewn, but it didn't work out that way. That's okay. It's going to look beautiful. I promise it will. So yeah, just figure out the placement of that and then do a nice line of E6000 glue and place them in place. So as you can see here, I'm using my little trick again, one line of the E6000 glue and one line of the hot glue. Hot glue for a quick dry, E6000 glue for the longevity dry, and I'm using chip clips slash clothing clips to keep it in place while it dries. E6000 glue has a terrible habit of slipping around if you don't keep it in place, so I'm just using these to keep it in its safety place while it's drying. While the ears are drying, we're going to take our straps that we had sewn and feed them through the D-rings. And again, in theory, these would be sewn, but we're going to use E6000 glue to feed it through about an inch, just enough so the open lip isn't anywhere near the toggle D-ring, so the glue won't like keep it permanent in place and it will have its spot. So I did notice that my strap width is a little thicker than I wanted it to be. So if you are using D-rings like I am, just make sure when you're making your patterns to begin with a little bit like small enough so they can wobble around. The purpose of the D-rings is so that the straps can comfortably swish around while it's on your you without destroying the bag and clunking it around everywhere. So this kind of defeated the purpose a little bit. So now it's more for aesthetic than it is for the purpose that it's actually for. So that's okay. So after you glue it, you're going to use those clothing pins to clips to keep the glue in place. I am using just E6000 glue, using a good amount of it because I don't want all my straps going anywhere. So yeah, just do it to both sides and put the clips down and let them dry. This part I let the full 24 hours dry. I did not do any quicks on this because the last step is to attach the moon, so I wanted to keep that safe. So this is the last step, guys. Whew, that was quite a journey. I'm sorry, a lot of talking. I try to be as most informational as possible, so you're not stressed like I am making the bag. No one has really made a bag quite like this that I've found on the social media, so this was really, you know, based on knowledge from other projects and experimenting, and I really hope that you have made it this far, and I'm really happy with the way it's turning out so far. So anyways, let's get back to this crescent moon. I found this crescent moon at a craft shop, and it came in like a cabochon collection. It has a little loop on the top. I didn't mean to just cut this off the screen, but I'm using my wire cutters to trim off that loop and make it nice. So my moon is actually more on the brassy side than it is on the gold side, but I want to match my other stuff, so I am taking a scrap of some of that vinyl and copying my moon. So my moon is actually a little more flimsy than I want it to be. I want it to be a little more bulky, especially in size comparison, and I did like the moon size ratio to the purse for both the original and the knockoffs. So, or should I say replicas? That's a little nicer to say. Let's say replicas. So I really wanted to make mine a little closer to that. So I copied my design and then redrew an outer edge for it. How I'm going to make this look really integrated is after I stencil out the moon with a pencil, I'm going to take some acrylic paint and paint on some gold and some glitter to be my backing for my moon. And this is a nice trick if you don't want to waste like paper or anything like that and you're only using a little bit of glue. I take my lid and, well, I take my paint and shake it really hard, open the lid, and then the top part has the paint on the other side. So I just use that as my little painting temporary dish to get that in. I did do 2 coats and then glitter. So I am also taking my gold acrylic and adding a couple coats to the moon so it is in the gold ratio rather than the brassy color, and it'll match. Nice trick to do while the paint is drying. You can use the glitter as like a sticky substance to dry to, so I did that. After it has completely dried, I cut it out with some scissors, and then I attached my metal crescent moon to my vinyl moon cutout and glue them together. After you have made sure everything's sturdily glued, everything's great, you will take your crescent moon, trim it if you have to, and oh gosh, this is like a rewarding moment for me. So you're gonna take the crescent moon, use your E6000 glue, place it on the back of the crescent moon you either bought, created. I'm not really sure let's see. You could probably use a resin crescent moon. You can use a cabochon crescent moon like I have from a jewelry piece. You can make your own like final moon like had other manufacturers had done. Really anything you want to do here. So I'm just using a very hefty amount. I don't want my moon to go anywhere, but not enough to like sandwich out on the sides when I press it down onto the fabric, because I don't want it to get all everywhere. So I'm going to place this down gently where I want it to go, and then again wait the full time for it to dry before you use your purse. And there you go, your Mooncat Sailor Moon inspired purse is done. This has been one of the hardest things I've ever made, but so rewarding. I hope you enjoy your bag. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I know it was really long. Thanks for bearing with me, but I am really happy with my bag. Was it easy? No. But was it worth it? Yes. And I absolutely love my bag. I also love it because it is me in a purse. And I did go back in with puffy paint and touch in my little moon, crescent moon, because I thought it'd be pretty if it was a little more ornate. And yeah, extremely happy with the purse. I can, I'm so excited to use it. The acrylic color actually worked out really well. It hasn't come off at all. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Stay tuned for the next Sailor Moon inspired video, and check out my other videos if you get a chance. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching, and have a magical day. Bye!